have, I think, had thoughts of homicide as well. And that's not unusual that they would feel that way, that they would think that they somehow needed to get rid of the person who was abusing them. And many times there has been abuse, either domestic violence in one way or the other, or substance abuse of some kind. It's not unusual.
How do you deal with both of those issues, both the domestic violence issue and the substance abuse issue?
With domestic violence, if there is an immediate danger for domestic violence, we seek to give them the information about where they might go and what they might do in order to get help. The crisis centers here in town for women and children who may be going through that, experiencing that, are good. And so we try to work with them as well and give them those kinds of help. We also make sure that we don't have a husband and wife coming to the group at the same time. If there is any kind of threat, we make sure that the law enforcement agencies know that we're meeting, that there has been a threat that's been given. We haven't had any major problems, and that's been good.
But it sounds like you're thorough, Frank, which is really good. I mean, this is a very professional operation.
Yeah. Substance abuse, we don't let people come who have been drinking or who are under influence of various kinds to a group. We really focus on the fact that not to do that, so it's good.
It's good. Before I forget, Frank, let me just put back on the screen your information where you can be recovered, where you can get information about divorce recovery, and your website, and your telephone number.
Right.
So
Thank you.
It's on the screen
That's
now,
good.
and people contact you because this is a valuable resource for the community. We want to make sure that they can get to it. How does one get involved in divorce recovery?
Well, all they have to do, if they want to go to one of our groups, all they have to do is to go to one of our groups, and they can get the information about the groups and where they're held on the website. As I say, the groups are open for the first 2 weeks, and then they're closed. So during the first 2 weeks of any of the groups, they can just simply go and show up. If they want more information about it, they can call the telephone number, and that they can get it then. So if they want to become involved in helping us and working with us, all they have to do is call the telephone number, talk to whoever's in the office, and we can get you hooked up and involved. We have a training for our group leaders that is held twice a year, and in the fall and the spring, and anyone is open. You do not have to have gone through a divorce in order to go through the training.
How many people do you have actually working
as leaders?
As leaders.
We have about 75 leaders on our roster. Active leaders, probably somewhere around 50, and that's really very good.
You should be proud.
We are, and probably over the 30 years, we've had 1,500 people go through the training and led groups for us, and probably 15,000 people who have gone through the groups.
15,000, that's hard
over the years.
That's very good. That's good.
Includes adults and children. But
I've always said when I'm doing mediation that sometimes it can be a growth experience for people in that process, but it seems like you sort of extend that and help people come out better than they went in.
Hopefully that they do, and they feel. One of the things we know about support, people going through any kind of a divorce, any kind of a loss, we found that if they have support, if they have someone they can talk to and cry with and laugh with, that really does help them get through the process. And we found that divorce recovery for those who go through the experience has been a major support to them, and that they can find a way through the issues which they have.
I think you mentioned a little bit earlier on, but can you elaborate a little bit more on how this works with children?
Well, with our children's groups, we divide up, as I said, into age-specific groups. So we have 3- and 4-year-olds. And we start, by the way, with 3 years because we have discovered that children at the age of 3 are attuned to what's going on.
How do you work with a 3-year-old?
Well, a lot of it's play therapy and play work, and sometimes just playing with them and getting to talk about the changes that have gone on in their family. Mommy and Daddy are no longer together, and they understand that, and they recognize it. I remember one little boy who was, I think, about 4 at the time, saying to us that he said, "Mommy and Daddy are getting divorced, and I'm here because I want to help other children."
Amazing.
How
old was the child?
4.
Wow.
So you think about the kids and that kind of experience that they go through it. So we have 3 and 4, 5 to 7-year-olds, 8, 9-year-olds, 10 to 12, and then teens is usually the breakdown that we have. Our leaders are oftentimes University of Arizona students who have gone through our training. Sometimes they come back 2 or 3 times as leaders, helping us.
Is there a cost for the training, by the way?
A minimal cost, primarily for materials, $45. And if there's a need and they can't afford it, we'll scholarship them in through it. So, but that's primarily for the materials that they get. They get a manual, which I wrote a few years ago, and it's really our guide to the program.
What are some of the major issues that are discussed in divorce recovery groups?
Well, I think it's like any transition that a person is going through. They need to talk about the losses and the grief that they may be experiencing, the difficulties that they go through with that. So we do a lot of talk about loss and the grief and the expression of the grief, and it is not unusual for people to cry, to be angry. We talk a lot about anger and the anger that they may have, some of the fears and the anxiety that is developed in a group, some of the loneliness, the depth of loneliness that they find themselves in, and what they want to do with the rest of their lives if they've come to the place where they have come to an acceptance of the divorce. In Divorce Recovery 1, which is our basic group, much of the time people really need to accept the fact first that they're getting divorced.
This is like the Kubler-Ross.
That's right, yeah. And so
getting to acceptance.
That they're in the Divorce Recovery 2, it's really letting go. It's the saying goodbye, letting go of the person that they were married to, letting go of the marriage before they can go on.
Before we forget again, let me go back on the screen and put up where you can reach you. And that's if you want to get in touch with Divorce Recovery, that's their website and their telephone on there.
Well, it's good to have this kind of information, to be able to give it to the community and to have them know that we are available, that we've been available for many years, and that it really is a free community service that volunteers wish to assist.
Thank you. A little bit of technical difficulty there. We got to close the doors. We're getting a little background noise, and I wanted to fix that before we continue. Sorry for the delay, but every once in a while I forget to close the studio doors. Frank, your Divorce Recovery is celebrating its 30th anniversary. How are you going to do that this year?
Well, a number of different ways that we're planning. One is that we will have some kind of a community program, probably a concert, that we will provide for the community that will allow them to help us and also get to know about divorce recovery. It's kind of a way of celebrating our experience and celebrate who we are and what we're all about. And then we hope to have 3 or 4 educational events that would be open to the community, probably happening in December, January. The concert we're hoping will be in November, and we'll be able to let the community know more about divorce recovery as well as people.
This will be on the website, so if people want more information, they can get on the website.
Yes, it will.
That's good. I was fascinated when you said, and it was hard to believe that your funding is really is all contributions. So if people want to make a contribution, how do they do that?
They can do it on the website. There is a way by which on the website that they can make a contribution. Otherwise, they can simply send it to Divorce Recovery. because it's a free community service, and we really have lived because people have been willing